Hello, welcome back to the channel, guys. This is pros and cons for the Fenerbahçe and Manchester United game, and we're going to pick out some positives, and we're going to nag at the negatives, as always. So, yeah, United drew 1-1 with Fenerbahçe last night, which means our record in Europe extends to 1 year exactly since we last won, and in our last 11 results in Europe, take a breath. Take a seat, guys. Have a lean back and just, you know, feast your eyes. We can't feast your eyes on it because it's not on the screen. Feast your ears on this. More to the point. 3-3 versus Sevilla at home. We lost 3-0 to Sevilla away. 4-3 to Bayern Munich. 3-2 to Galatasaray. We beat Copenhagen 1-0, but only because of a last-minute Maguire winner and a last-minute penalty save from Onana. 4-3 against Copenhagen, lost away. 3-3 to Galatasaray, lost 1-0 to Bayern Munich, drew 1-1 FC Twente, 3-3 Porto, 1-1 Fenerbahçe. That is our worst run in Europe in 41 years. We are 21st in the Europa League out of 36 teams, I believe. Not even the fucking Champions League that we're talking about here. This is the Europa League that we're 21st in. Absolutely crazy. Not only that, but in the Premier League, United have won 7 of our last 22 games. Only 7. The win percentage is absolutely shocking. As a coach team, if you could even call it that, there's no pressure on the ball. We still sit far too deep in game after game after game. 3 years, basically, with a deep line. We give up playing out from the back instantly. We're so wasteful on counter-attacks. It's unsustainable to watch a team like this week in, week out. But there's a clip that I want to show you guys that kind of encapsulates the manager in this whole situation. And I saw this clip, I saw the quotes from it, and my brain just went into like instant panic mode almost. But just have a listen to this.
When you take, say, the 2 points, Porto and Fenerbahçe away, it showed that we are a team who's hard to beat. And we showed it again today, so we can take confidence again from this game and take this up into the lead to West Ham.
Oh my goodness me. Confidence and hard to beat is 2 words that I will not associate with this team at all, or this manager. I just, you know, sometimes you listen to it, even in the pre-match press conference when he's been asked about his record in Europe and all this kind of stuff, somehow he always seems to bring it back to trophy. He's like, all right, that's great, yeah, we won an FA Cup. We've won a Carabao Cup in isolation. Fantastic. Especially the FA Cup, because you beat City and you beat Liverpool in the fashion that you did. That's amazing. That's probably why you stayed in your job. It's probably why a lot of fans were on your side initially, right? But when you're being asked these questions by journalists, and it happened a couple of weeks ago, there was a guy who pulled him up about his tactics, and he was almost like blinded by it, like, oh, that's what you think, is it? Is that, you know, like, seems to be really cocky about it. And you're like, no, us as fans, as a collective, we're watching this shit week in, week out. And like I always say, none of us have our UEFA B licenses or anything like that. But you can see the obvious tactical flaws in this team. You can see the low in confidence. You can see there seems to be no idea. You can see they're not executing it on the pitch. And yet, we're still sticking with this manager. So we're going to kick the pros and cons off, as always, with the negatives. Please do get in the comments section if you have any of your own. And let's just get into it. So obviously the first one is the manager. Has to start with this guy, because I am slowly but surely losing my rag with him. I really, really am. Not only that video that we just played for you there, but he seems to be getting everything wrong at the minute, from whether it's team selection to interviews. The interviews are like the biggest one for me that I'm just struggling with to listen to him. Coaching's a bit... The tactics on the pitch just seem stale. It seems like there's no fresh ideas. I mean, maybe people might say Roy Mazraoui is a sense of fresh idea, but that was quite literally a jack in the box. The man management of players seems bizarre. I'm going to get onto Ahmad a little bit later on. I'm going to get into Anthony and a few other individuals. We look so flat and confused on the pitch. I think a lot of the players have just lost complete faith in him, complete faith in his ideas, and they're kind of just going along with it at the moment. And again, people can say, well, you know, it's all about the players carrying these instructions out on the pitch, and I get it, but if you have to put yourself in your shoes. Think how much we're raging as fans. Think how the players feel when they're being told to play like this on the pitch. And it's, do you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's all the manager, but I'm just saying the likelihood is they're going to be fucking fed up with him, aren't they? And he talks about a process. He talks about trophies. You've spent £600 million. Regardless of whatever you want to talk about a process and the people who was in charge before Ineos taking over, you spent so much money on players. We've brought in Anthony. How much is Anthony worth now? 15 million quid. If you get that, how much is Mason Mount worth now? How much is Casemiro worth now? You know, you spent a lot of money, £600 million. We should be at a standard now where you're at least, what we're asking for is, you know, competing for top 4. At least at a bare minimum. But we're 11th in the league and we're 21st in Europa League. How do you not go and get Thomas Tuchel when you look at that situation? No other manager would have gotten away with that. No other manager. If this was Ole, Ragnick, Mourinho, anyone. No one. If he was 11th in the league and 21st in the Europa League, I get Ineos are probably like, you know, this is patience and maybe they might not have the right man and all that kind of stuff. But how long do you leave it for? You know, do you wait until we get to 15th where we're actually close to relegation? Do you wait until we've actually been fully eliminated from the Europa League? Or do you make a change right now for the better of the team, for the better of the fans? Honestly, because what happens now is, and this is the next kind of negative, we become a mid-table team. That's what we are, isn't it, at the moment? I've just said 11th in the Premier League, 21st in Europa League. Haven't played any of the top ranked in Europe. We've played FC 20, Porto, and Fenerbahçe. I get some of them tough away grounds. You're in Turkey, Porto away, supposed to be tough. Nonsense. There is standards that need to be in place there. In the Premier League, we've only played Liverpool and Spurs. So we've not played, Aston Villa as well, sorry. But we haven't played a Man City yet at the Etihad or anything. We haven't played an Arsenal yet. You know, there's still some games, some very, very tough games in the league. And you're going into them, you think, are you confident with us getting a result in them now? I know no one was confident going into the FA Cup final, and maybe there will be a jack in the box in that sense, because United seem to always pull it out and when you don't think they can, they'll do it. But I'm looking at the games now, and Chivy mentioned this on the post-match review that we did. Make sure you check it out if you missed it. Meet Sam and Chivy on there. I joined a little bit late. But Chivy was like, I'm looking at games around me now. I'm looking at like Fulham and Forest to see if they've dropped points. To see if we can leapfrog them in the league. That's where we're at. We don't need to worry about Brighton and Newcastle, and even though Newcastle having a pretty shocking season as well. We don't need to worry about those teams because we're not even near them at the minute. We need to worry about the Fulhams and the Forests and Crystal Palaces and these kind of guys. That's the area we're functioning at the moment, despite the amount of money that had been spent. So that the standards have dropped even below from 6th to 8th, which was last season, to lower. And everyone last season was like, this is unsustainable, we can't continue, and we're doing even worse, technically, in the league. He's already beat his worst league start as well. He's broken those kind of records. We have no aura at all as a team. It's like, oh, Manchester United might turn up. That's what teams are thinking. The teams in the league now, they're going to Old Trafford, or they're just playing United. Like, they might have that factor in there, oh, it's Man United, and the coach will always preempt a game by saying that. He'll always turn around and go, yeah, you know, it's United. They've got some top-class players and da-da-da. But it's not. It's not. We're quite an easy... We're probably one of the easiest teams to play against in the league, especially off the ball. Off the ball, we are one of the worst teams in the league. I will go as far. And I don't even think that's sensationalist saying that. I genuinely believe that. And we have to be careful because this will start becoming the norm. And we'll start saying, oh, well, we got into the top half of the table. Your standards go lower and lower. You go from winning the league, top 4, okay, we compete at top 4, top 6, top 8, do you know what I'm saying? The standards go, drop right down. So, yeah. Right, the next negative, I'll dive into your comments in a moment. We're going to dive into a couple of individuals. This man, Joshua Zirkzee. Oh, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I liked him when he first came in. I like the idea of why we brought him in to facilitate our wingers. He looks off the pace, man. He looks off the pace. His passing was always off. His first touch was weird at times, which is weird because that's what you associate him with. Technically, he's a really good player. He looked off the pace. He looked like, the best way I could describe it is, you know, like when you're on WhatsApp and you send in like a voice note and you can put it on ×2 or times, 2.5 or whatever. He looks like he's on 0.5 and the rest of the team are on 1. 0.9 maybe. It just doesn't look like he's connected at all. And there's a couple of stats to kind of back this up. So 0 out of 1 dribble attempts, 67% pass accuracy, 0 out of 2 long balls. And people might say long balls as a striker, but I'm talking when he picks it up and plays it through and it just doesn't reach the man. Saw that a couple of times. 1 out of 4 ground duels, 1 out of 4 aerial duels. I mean, I heard someone saying on the radio last night, that's his strengths. He's not. He's never been good in the air. He's shit in the air. For his height, he's really, really bad in the air. But 1 out of 4 aerial duels, shocking. And he lost possession 7 times. So not the best cameo from Xerxes last night. I'm not writing him off. I know a lot of people are already talking about he's a Stoke player and John Walters and all this kind of nonsense. And, they're making a joke and laugh out of it or what have you. But look, it's 8-9 games in. I don't want to be heavy, uber critical of Xerxes, but you cannot watch that performance last night and tell me that it was any decent. It was shocking. And people were criticising Ten Hag for not playing Højlund, but I understood it personally because he's not fully fit yet. And Ten Hag's very methodical with the way he brings players back. And I think Scholes, he criticised it before, saying you should play these guys. But if he plays tonight, Højlund from the start and gets injured, everyone's moaning at Ten Hag, saying, why has he started him and da-da-da and all that kind of shit. So, yeah. Charlie Mann was saying a proper clown show when Ten Hag does not help himself with what he is saying after games. Yeah, I touched on that at the start. But, yeah, let's move on to the next negative, and hopefully you guys will agree with this one as well. Dallow's defending for that first goal was fucking criminal, wasn't it? Absolutely criminal. No one will ever question his commitment, his application, what he's like in training. I'm sure he's probably the harshest on himself when it does come to criticism. But allowing that cross to come in on their goal was just, you can't justify it at all. I think his back post defending is terrible. You saw that in Europe last year a couple of times. You saw it in the Premier League as well. His positional game isn't the best, whether it's kind of on transitions or even when he's just been a heavy load of possession. He doesn't position himself correctly. And if you watch, actually, I think it was, when Ugarte blocks it off the line, the play before that, they just knock it into Dalot and Dilit's channel, and there's just no one around it or chasing it, and he's able to get the cross across the box, and that's where the chance comes from. I don't know, it's weird because it's easy to like Dalot because of the we know how hard he works. Ronaldo's touched on it. The players always reference him as being the first in training, the last one out. They're always practicing extra or what have you. That doesn't mean you can't criticise his defending. I think his defending's been really, really, really bad. And I think we have an issue at United where we actually overrate our players quite a lot. They have one good performance and we seem to put him on a pedestal. We'll start calling him one of the best right-backs in the league. All this kind of stuff. We've seen it before, and sometimes we get a little bit excited about it, and we're happy that a player's doing well, and we want to big him up. But when we do that, then the standards, and we set this level, when they put in a stinker, it's like, oh, right. It kind of brings you back down to reality a little bit. And yeah, I thought that just allowing that cross to come into the box, it's just fucking, it's basic shit. Basic stuff. Shocking. Right, next one. Let me load it up. Ahmad abandonment. This is something I really want to get into because, look, no issue with starting Rashford and Garnacho. And when you look at the form that they've been in, the way they've been playing, you're like, okay, yeah, they did start. Garnacho was good against Brentford. Rashford was really good against Brentford. You could question marks about Mazraoui starting in the 10 over Ahmad. I think that is a bit of an insult to Amad Diallo. Definitely when we know he can play there. We've seen him play there before. Naturally, when he's on the right anyway, he seems to drift inside. He's really good. His first touch is great. He can link play. I think he would have been good in there. So that's its own kind of entity. In isolation, starting Mazraoui there was a lot of question marks. People going, what the fuck is he doing? I understood it from a technical point because how Mazraoui receives it under pressure, the options that he offers, solutions, I didn't think it would be bad. And I don't think he was. If you look at the first goal that he scored, Mazraoui was, heavily involved in that. So that's a separate kind of situation. But with Ahmad, when Ten Hag's saying, well, Anthony's been performing really, really well in training, I'm sure a lot of players have been performing well in training. That's why I keep picking him week in, week out. Ahmad was performing good at the start of the season. Yeah, he went a little bit quiet, and then you're taking him out. So I don't know with Ahmad, it's a weird one. I think he's one of those players who needs that kind of faith and trust and behind him, just to stick with him, give him a good solid run of games. I'm not saying play him all the time, but I feel like he's one of those players who gets, he needs a good few starts to really get into rhythm. I'm worried about his contract situation. I don't know. I think we've got an option to extend it potentially, so I don't think he can start speaking to teams in January or the summer, but we're set to offer him a new 4 or 5 year deal. That's the reports that are kind of floating about. Is he going to sign that deal when he's seeing a right back start in the 10 over him?
maybe not conclusively he'll say, yeah, I'm definitely not signing it because of that, but that's going to be a factor that he needs to consider. He's like, look, I can, right now, we could probably go to a Brighton and start. Could he not? Or a team of that. He could go to Newcastle and start for them 1,000,000% over Jacob fucking Murphy and Almiron. He will start for Newcastle and he'll make him a better team as well. So that's what you need to be careful of. I know we're a mid-table team at the moment, but putting trust in Anthony because he's doing well in training is just a bizarre situation to me. I really like Hamad Diallo. I think he's a top player. I know he went off the boil a little bit, but yeah. And not finishing that chance, Nick. That's from James. Yes, thank you for bringing that up, James. Spot on, mate. Absolutely spot on. Yeah, a couple of issues with Diallo last night. David Pearson saying, can't disagree with a single word said on this stream. It's a sin that arguably Christian Erikson is possibly our best player this season. I mean, that's bonkers, isn't it? Keep that in mind, David. I'm going to talk about Erikson in a moment. UTFR says, wins player of the month and disappears. Ten Hag is the most deluded manager in football. I don't know if you guys managed to catch the start of the show, but the video that I played, that just kind of, proves that. But David mentioned Christian Erikson there. And now it's time to go into the positives. Because we actually have a couple. I know, shocking, right? Yeah, Erikson is an interesting one, isn't it? Because over the summer, I would probably go as far to say 90% of United fans were probably happy for him to go. A lot of people saying, yep, 5 mil to Ajax, no problem. You have to be honest, right? Erikson has been our best player this season. We did a show the other day where I think it was me, Shreyas, and Sam. We were saying, has it been Evans? Has it been Onana? And we'll talk about it in a moment as well. It's Erikson. Erikson, by far. The assists that he's getting, the goals that he's scoring. I don't know what his stats are this season. Let me pull them up. I should have had these pre-ready before I think it, but let's have a look. Because he's putting some good numbers up at the minute. And consistently as well. 4 goals and 3 assists in 10 games from the number 8 position is a very, very good return. I think he's probably one of our highest goal scorers as well, isn't it? This season, I'm guessing. So, yeah, I mean, you have to say it. And look, we know his deficiencies off the ball. I always mention that, and I apologise for it, because we do. I just feel like there's going to be one game where we play a City or we play someone, and then there's going to be a reality check again. I'm going to go, that's why we didn't play him week in, week out. But at the moment, I thought, for some reason last night, I was paying attention to him closely, more than anyone. I don't know why. There's no reason for it. But I just thought every time he picked up the ball, the decision-making was really good. He knows how to manipulate space. He knows when to go long, when to keep it short, when to keep it ticking. Very, very intelligent player. And I think we don't have enough of those intelligent technicians. We have more athletes like your Rashfords and Garnachos who will run all game. And we'll have a heavy output, but not necessarily a condensed output. With Erikson, I feel like he is that calm influence. He is that... And we really needed him this season. And I'm just so surprised to see him, how well he's doing. Because I don't think anyone expected it really, did they? Much like Majari playing as a 10. I don't think anyone had that on the bingo card, did they, for Erikson to be player of the season so far. So you can only big him up and you can only say, look, he deserves... I remember the first game... Sorry, I'm trying to drink my brew before it goes cold. You'll all understand. I remember the first game, actually, when he started Erikson, and there was so many people on this stream. Erikson, why is he starting him? Blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. And I got it, again, to a certain extent, because you're going off, previous seasons and stuff. And he was like, I would not have started him. You need to put Ugarte in there. You need to put Casemiro in there, and da-da-da. But I think he's proved everyone wrong at the moment. And again, that's another one where there's a contract situation coming up. What do you do with that? Do you extend it for another year? Is he looking for a big contract? Should we give him a new deal? That's the question I'm going to leave for you guys as I dive into the next positives. Talk to me, people. And smash a like on the video for us as well, if you're feeling extra generous. Andre Onana. This guy deserves his flowers, doesn't he? For sure. For sure. That double save last night, that's as good as it's going to get. And there was one as well. Please, someone remind me. What was that other save he made? Because I think it was the same week, wasn't it, as David Raya? When he made that big one. I can't remember who it was against. You guys will know. My memory's so bad. But he made another fantastic save in the Europa League as well. Was it FC20? Can't remember. But look, you have to say with Andre Onana,
when we're speaking specifically Europe, last year, I would go as far to say I was ready for him to go. After that Galatasaray game, I was like, he is not cut out for it. He's making mistakes after mistake. He made one against Bayern Munich. He made a couple against Copenhagen. He made a couple against Galatasaray. He got Casemiro sent off. He made ones against Brentford. He made a million mistakes. Andre Onana. So at that point, I was just, at the end of my tether, I was like, he's not going to cut it. Not made for it. Then the second half of the season, you would argue, he started to play a lot better. He seemed to get, into his comfort zone. There was still a couple of saves that he would make where he's got this kind of unorthodox style of diving, and he'd question it a lot. He'd be like, I don't know about that. But right now, I was just been talking about Christian Erikson being one of the players of the season. I think Onana is. I think them two, in particular, are the standing lights in a very dark tunnel at the moment. And I'm happy because if you could imagine the shit show that it is at the moment, if Onana was still making mistakes and stuff, I mean, God knows to think where we'd be. You think about the save against Crystal Palace. That's one I was trying to remember as well, against Eze. The double save last night was, honestly, even Mourinho's reaction tells you everything you need to know about that save. That was one, and if David De Gea does that, you got Goldbridge, rimming him. And there still is kind of agenda out there that he's not good enough or what have you, but I think he's been solid. You call a spade, innit? And Onana and Erikson have been really good. But it's hard to be almost proud of that because they're the only positives. I mean, there's other things I could have touched on. There was probably 4 or 5 more negative things that I could have added on there, but I just didn't want it to be a draining, depressing show where I'm just like, shit. I just wanted to focus on the main ones and really wanted to get those out there. I think those above him are the deluded ones. Surely they can see he needs replacing. Well, listen, I think they've missed the boat on Thomas Tuchel. What did we say, guys, when it was the international break and we knew Ineos were having that meeting? Every one of us sat here and we said... Well, majority of us, sat here. I don't want to speak for everyone, but what do we need right now? Someone who's good in Europe, someone who's going to come in and make us defensively organised instantly, someone who's going to keep clean sheets, someone who's got a good record against the big teams. Tuchel, he was right there. He was literally there for the taking, and you could have gone and got him. Now, people will argue and they'll say, long-term vision, he can't be a part of that. He's a very 2 to 3 year manager. That's fine, or whatever. All right, I'll take that right now over a manager who's going to be mid-table and 21st in the fucking Europa League and is still coming out after games feeling like, this team played well. What are you talking about? And being overconfident and cocky in post-match press. I would take that, a million times out of 10. Thomas Tuchel. Why not? Why have you not gone for him? I would love to speak to Ineos and go, okay, maybe the guy that you have in mind isn't available right now. But then how long do you let this shit show go on for until it's justifiable for you guys to make the decision and make that tough decision? Because I think that the majority of fans now are with it. They're happy for him to go. Happy sounds bad because, look, I don't want to be disrespectful. He's won an FA Cup. He's won a Carabao Cup. But it's hard not to be infuriated and angry and almost disrespectful when you're watching this week in, week out and the manager's completely fucking oblivious to it. Like I keep repeating, none of us have our B licenses or C licenses or anything like that, but we can all see the tactical flaws in this team week in, week out. We can all see the confidence burnt out of these players. We can see all the players on the sideline, probably because they're being overtrained. Kobe Mainu. You got Lenny Yoro, who's out for a couple of months at the start of the season straight away. Rasmus has had his injury issues. Ugarte's had a couple of injuries. So, I don't know. This whole thing is just one big, giant shit show, innit? And I think if nothing changes, nothing changes. Oh, God, I had to get that off my chest. Ratcliffe is a fan. Surely he's feeling the same as we are. You'd like to think, wouldn't you, UTFR? You'd like to think. Might sound stupid, Nick, but think the hostility in Turkey had an influence on not starting Ahmad. Yeah, he said about Mazraoui, didn't he? He's saying coming into this atmosphere or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. But when Ahmad played against Liverpool in the FA Cup quarters, was that not a hostile atmosphere? I know it was at Old Trafford, but United versus Liverpool was one of the biggest games of the season, no matter what competition it's in. And Ahmad held his own in there and scored the winner in that. So,
I don't know. You have to feel as if you're Amad Diallo and you're seeing those quotes and you've got a right back starting in the 10 over you. Surely you're sat there questioning. You're like, oh, maybe I don't think he does rate me. Because if Rashford's there, imagine if Rashford's on the right and he starts Mazraoui there and Rashford's on the bench. Wouldn't happen, would it? Wouldn't happen. Afternoon, big up Nick. Thank you, Steph. I hope you're good. Nice to see you in the chat. Positives, Erikson, Onana, Ugarte. I thought, you know what? I was going to put Ugarte in the positives, but I'm still not convinced by him. Still not convinced by him. I know Ten Hag has put out there that he needs to get used to time and rhythm, and it's going to take a good couple of weeks, and maybe I'll be wrong on it, but I'm not convinced by quite a lot of the new signings, to be honest with you. De Ligt, in terms of defensive layer, is good, but I think he jumps in too much. He presses his man. He touches too tight sometimes and gets done. I don't like that at all, because Sandro does the same thing as well. Ugarte, passing and ability on the ball is shaky at times. Sometimes he'll give it away in unnecessary positions. Cleaning up, obviously the block on the line was great. I won't go over egg it and say he was amazing. Just for me personally, obviously everyone's entitled to their opinions. My biggest worry with Erikson is him getting burnt out due to his age and obvious medical history. Absolutely. He's probably starting more games than for him. I mean, we had a shot when Johnny Evans came in, didn't we, when he played like 30 games. I think Erikson's definitely going to play 30 games this season. And now he handles that load, I don't know. And you know what, you're looking at it now thinking if he gets injured, we are proper fucked, mate. Really fucked. If a 33-year-old Erikson gets injured, we're fucked. 3 leads in 3 Europa fixtures, 3 draws. Worst performance result was 20 at home. Let me ask this question. Does anyone find a reasoning or surfaced, and I'm not going to go in at you as I go mad, does anyone find a reason to keep Ten Hag right now? Anything at all? And I'm happy to, conversate about it. It's his delusional views that piss me off. He's off his head. Someone with a presence that the players will sit down and listen to. Tuchel. Because what happens when a manager comes in like that, you have that authority to say, what do you mean? I've won a Champions League. I've won league titles. I've been at Bayern Munich. I've been at PSG. I've been at Dortmund. I've been at Chelsea. I've been at big clubs. I've managed there. I know what it takes. No, there's a couple of things where he falls out with players. The majority of the time, he falls out with the board because he wants to recruit specific players and he is a perfectionist. But like I said, for all the reasons before, it made sense for me. Ineos are waiting for Zidan. I'm sure of it. Why else like this bad? Nah, not Zidan. Zidan coming into this team. Zidan is, for me, is not really... He's not a project manager for me personally. I think he goes in with winners, and I think he can manage egos and characters, and again demands that respect because he's Zidane. He's one of the greatest players to ever play the game, and he's won everything: World Cups, Champions Leagues, etc. I don't think he comes into this Man United team now. I think he looks at the quality and he probably joins and goes, nah, fuck that. They're no way near it. No way near it. Zidane ain't coming to the shit show. Zidane just likes to put the cherry on top of the... Exactly, yeah. Abhishek says, bro, hi from India. I have one question yesterday on Porto. They have a beautiful chance to win. Then they're not for me. Midfield is the worst. Midfield is... well, I don't know. I've just been through all the positives and negatives, but welcome, Abhishek. There's plenty of issues with Man United. You can't just pinpoint it on one. For me personally, make sure you subscribe to the channel. By the way, we're on 7,262. So if you are new to the channel, like Abhishek, hit that subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner and smash a like on the video for us as well. De Ligt seems a bit keen for me as well. Yeah. Look, it's a difficult one with the manager now because if you get rid of him first and foremost, who do you go and get? Do you put Ruud in as interim? If you've done your research on Ruud, there is a lot of similar comparisons with him in terms of tactical, his stubbornness, etc. Maybe initially you get a manager bounce. We might get a bit overhyped by it, and we're like, oh, he's back. We United are back. We just needed Ruud. I think that'll fade out, and then initially at the end of the season, we'll see a similar thing like what happened with Ole. I don't know who the specific manager is who Ineos want to bring in. I really, really don't know who it is. Maybe they're in a job. Maybe it's an Amorim. Maybe it's a Thomas Frank. Maybe it's a Kieran McKenna. Maybe it's Xavi Alonso. I think Muppeteers mentioned him when he was on the show the other day. Maybe he's the number one target, but Xabi Alonso ain't going to come to United at the minute. No chance. He just won a league with Bayer Leverkusen. He's got a good chance of doing it again this season. I mean, I don't know where they are in the league, but, you know, they got to the final of the Europa League last season. Real Madrid are touted to get him next after Ancelotti leaves, and you look at the squad that Real Madrid have got, and they get Xabi Alonso. Obviously, he's played for Real Madrid before as well. There is no chance we're getting him. So if that's the figure that they're looking at, I don't see it happening. Do not see it happening, honestly. Look, Southgate is back in a year. Could it be him? Could it be him? Do they see him as the guy to get us into top 4? I don't know. I definitely don't. I mean, could you imagine now them announcing that in the state that we're in at the minute, saying, don't worry, guys. Gareth Southgate to the rescue. Yeah. I can't see it. I can't see it personally. But look, we've come, as the boys to men would say, to the end of the road. End of the show. End of the show. That's where we're at. Thank you for watching Pros and Cons. If you are watching this later and you're not watching this live, why are you not watching it live? Just joking. But leave your positives and negatives if there's anything I've missed out, and I'll just give you a quick recap. For the positives, we had Erikson, Onana. For the negatives, we had Ahmad abandonment, Dalot defending, Xerxes, mid-table team, and the manager. So if there's any that I've missed out, get yours in the comments section and let us know. Cheers for watching.